Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the Daily Fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, fellow toxic Bitcoiner. He's also, I'd say, described as a free software entrepreneur. I'm talking about Max Hillebrand is joining us. But first, we're diving into the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time! Number Time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, but you're going to have to get your tickets quickly because the price does go up. President Bukele made a huge announcement. He has a surprise to say at the Bitcoin conference. Really cool stuff. You can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 717,193. The Bitcoin price, 46,355. Chain rewrite days, 744. Total public Lightning capacity, 3,303.27. Moscow time, 21:57. Blocks to the halvening, 122,807. Nico, the numbers.
The numbers. So my eyes were looking at someplace else while you were reading that. And the amount of days since we were at an all-time high, the all-time high was 69,420. It's 55 days. It hasn't even been 2 months since that price. This is Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin roller coaster. Holy crap. It really takes an emotional toll on you. That's what the honey badger does. Anyways, Phil, you had an article that we were going to talk today on the numbers.
I do.
Why don't you pull it up?
I do. It's not really an article, but let's go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's not really an article, right? It's more like it's a website by a fellow Bitcoiner, longtime Bitcoiner, Justin Moon. Very simple. ngudaily.com, right? Beautiful. Nice orange, and it lets us know simply, on average, Bitcoin goes up $9.93 every day. And that number does change. I have been watching this for probably a week. So the number kind of, right now it's not changing too much because the price isn't changing too much, but the number does fluctuate. And it really, it got me thinking, right? Bitcoin right? Because we always talk about how Bitcoin is low time preference and you got to zoom out. People don't really pay attention to that. But look, right? Every single day, that's what Bitcoin is doing. Rain or shine, all the noise, all the news, the central banker clowns, right? The shitcoiners, the NFTs, the JPEGs that are worth nothing. All of that noise, and it doesn't make a difference. Nico?
Dude, man, first of all, I think those types of websites, and there is a couple other websites. There is the one with what could you buy? And essentially, it like if you would have bought Bitcoin instead of whatever item, you would have this much amount more fiat. So there's a lot of those types of websites, but I think all of them kind of have the same message, which is don't sell your Bitcoin and long time preference, right? If you have a long time preference, over time, $9.93 might not be a lot today, right? But just start compounding that. And I'm sure that number gets bigger, right? Because think about it, the law of big numbers, right? Bitcoin, when it was at $1, it jumped, it wasn't going up $9.93 a day. I'm sure it was going up a couple cents or maybe less than that. So I'm sure that number gets higher over time. But the point is that $9.93, right? If we take today's figure, isn't that big of a deal. But if you start compounding it on top of each other, over the years, and that's essentially ideally you should be holding Bitcoin for a minimum of 4 years. Why 4 years? That's the halving cycle. I know that a lot of people are saying the halving cycle is dead and all that. I think there's still some truth to it. I think that the halvening plays a major role in Bitcoin. But yeah, man, it just, when I look at those websites, Phil, I just see hodl that Bitcoin. Don't sodle that Bitcoin because you're going to pay for it down the road. Anyways, Max, what are your thoughts on all this?
This website is really cool, and I think it's a nice catcher for new people getting into Bitcoin, right? Look at how much more fiat numbers I get if I would have held on to those Bitcoin, right? But ultimately, we need to flip around the narrative and have the number of how many sats can you get for your dollar, and how rapidly is that number decreasing. I think that is much more of a FOMO train when people realize, oh shit, what do you mean? Every day I'm getting like thousands of sats less for my dollar on average. Okay, that's that's a more Bitcoiner maximalist viewpoint. Don't denominate your business in shitcoins. Denominate in a sound money.
Absolutely.
To Max's point, I just want to say, I still remember getting 1 million sats for $100. Okay, I still remember that, and now I get closer to like 216,000 or something like that. So
Wow.
it's brutal, and to that point, right? I still remember getting 15,000 sats for $1, and now we just read it was 2,100. Like that. Yeah, I totally agree. Like that, I completely agree with Max. That is 100% the FOMO train. Like when you start to look at that number and you see that drastic drop, it's like, I'm running out of time. This is what happens, right? That's where you become high tie preference for Bitcoin, right? Like because you want to accumulate Bitcoin as quickly as you can. So.
Yeah, man. And look, I'm going to tie it in with what I said in the beginning, when I read about the all-time highs 55 days ago. We're 32% down from the all-time high. That's a 32% discount. That means that if you're buying some Bitcoin today, you're getting 32% more than if you were to stack at an all-time high. That is a hell of an opportunity. Let me ask you something. Do you really think that Bitcoin's not going to go back to that all-time high and more, right? And if the answer is no, which most of us feel that way because it's simply Bitcoin after all, you have a fucking hell of a deal, right? And don't believe us. Like, look at Bitcoin's historical performance. As the best, I don't know the word, Phil. Best performing asset. I guess that's the word.
Yeah.
Best performing asset of the last 10 years. That's why I love that website that you pulled up initially, Phil, where it's like, if you bought, like I think it was like one of them was a DVD. Like if you bought a DVD in 2012 instead of Bitcoin, you'd have, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars today, but you decided to buy a DVD. Anyways, lots of signal here. Appreciate Max's input. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Fail.
The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber app. Check it out. It's amber.app. It's a Bitcoin stacking app by actual toxic Bitcoiners. The link is down below. All right, Yellow. I need some of your wisdom, man.
Don't stop believing.
I need it.
Huddle to that feeling.
Give it to me. What's the wisdom about?
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
I like the way Max thinks. See, we have to rethink.
But those are all Freudian slips, It's your unconscious fiat mindset still breaking through. It's hard cracks. It will take us all decades to heal.
I like that. Okay, Nico, you got to keep this. You got to keep this for the show. See, the in-between stuff, the in-between the segments is like the best.
Dude, let's keep on rolling. Keep on rolling.
Okay. All right, let's just go. Let's just go right
straight
into it.
We're gonna go straight to the fail.
Okay, here we go.
I'm not. We can't even do a countdown because that was pure signal from Max.
Pure signal from Max.
Pure signal.
We love it. We love it. All right, so two fails for you guys. Nothing too heavy. Normally I got the tinfoil hat and I'm pulling all the strings and all that good stuff. But we're gonna take it easy, but still fails nonetheless. Now, last week, okay, we were talking about Algorand, right? And we were talking about some of the quote unquote YouTube Bitcoiner narratives that really the back end of El Salvador's Bitcoin offering is somehow this shitcoin. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this, but this just kind of adds to the point of they're not backing anything up with this. It has nothing to do with money. It's just a shitcoin like everything else. It is tech that does not need to be a token. And this is just another reason why. Let's get into it. Another year, another hack. Algorand's DeFi platform, Tinyman, exploited for $3 million.
That's a good start to the year, ain't it?
Right? Right? So this is, and keep in mind, this is actually the second rug pull that we've actually reported on since the beginning of the year. So look at that. We're not even 4 days in and there's already millions of dollars rug pulled. Because, hey, somebody's got to fund the next year, right? So it's going to be someone's money, All right, let's go into it. Tinyman has now detailed the fateful exploit that cost the DeFi platform an estimated $3 million. The attack exploits a previously unknown bug Always. They're always previously unknown in the contract and allows the attacker to withdraw assets from a pool that they are not entitled to. So when I read when I read pool, that to me is a point that is a central point of failure. That's a central point of failure in anything. Okay? That's going to make sense in a second. The bug was exploited by burning the pool tokens, which allowed the hackers to receive 2 of the same assets instead of 2 different assets. Interesting. Here we go. All users were immediately asked to pull out their liquidity from all Tinyman related contracts since none of them can be reversed or paused due to the network's fully decentralized structure. I don't think that's fully decentralized in any way, shape, or form.
Dude,
I just don't. Now,
not at all. Anyways,
no.
but hold on a second, because Max is the developer. Max, do you think that's decentralized?
I have no idea. Probably not. I mean, they are also saying, right, the DeFi platform got stolen from. I mean, we're talking about people here. I want to know who got stolen from here. Like, were those end users or were those some professional market makers? You know, it's a very a different context here for each of these different attack vectors. But yeah, man, software is tough. Good luck trying to write it without bugs. But I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Not that Bitcoin software is any more prettier. Like our software is as ugly and even worse. So you know,
what would you say is the difference between? Because you know, again, Phil and I, you know, we benefit from just using the network, right? We're plebs, right? What would you say is the biggest difference between the Bitcoin software and the DeFi software?
Oh, great question. I actually think it's understanding of priorities and focus. You know, like with Bitcoin devs, like we know that this is like a magical cyberspace money that is multi-generational wealth, and users entrust our programs to protect that wealth. Like you know, that's a massive responsibility. Like if we fuck up, that's then people lose their money. You know, people starve. And people can't do their entrepreneurial ventures and all of these things, right? It's like the worst case situation would be that if the money breaks, and since we're building the software of money, if our software breaks, that's as bad or even worse as an airplane. All of a sudden, the software managing the computers there all of a sudden crashing, and probably, I mean, I don't know, but probably a lot of the shitcoin projects don't have that focus because they don't have the capital and the time to really invest and to solve it. Or I don't know why. Again, big assumption, but that is so important to have in Bitcoin, and we still don't have it enough in Bitcoin. Right? There's a bunch of wallet software out there that are really horrible. Right? And are
you talking about Hexa Wallet? Were you? Because I saw that recently. I saw that pop up recently, so I don't know if you were referring to that specifically.
No, I didn't even. I don't even know what happened there. But I mean, you know, probably just one of the many cases. Like, I mean, that's not a badge against the developers, because Bitcoin stuff is super hard, and writing good software is super hard, and writing good Bitcoin software is like the exponential of the two, right? So it's, good luck. But that just means we really need more devs, more time, more energy to write better tools. It'll come.
So, go ahead.
So if I'm sorry, yeah. So if I'm understanding this correctly, right? What you're saying is that we should not move fast and break things like we're seeing in the shitcoiner space. What we should be doing is moving slowly and ensuring that what is built is solid. That kind of sounds, that sounds like the difference between high time preference and low time preference, and we can clearly see the difference between the casino, right? That is the shit that is shitcoins, and you know I guess you'd say, you know, the solid base that is Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, it's also fun to be reckless, as your sticker there says, right? To run this crazy tech way too early and be recklessly stupid with it, knowing that this is highly experimental and there is an absolute certainty, like 100%, that there's thousands of bugs out there that could potentially take all your money, right? It's just that they're not yet discovered. So yeah, good luck. But the funny thing is that even in Bitcoin Lightning, right, it worked. Like there wasn't major losses of money in Lightning just because of bugs in the software. I don't think, at least I can't remember. So that's kind of crazy too, right? I mean, I remember those days where we were way too early, way too reckless, but it worked somehow, right? And I think that's just because people designing the protocol knew what they were doing and had a very adversarial mindset to making sure people don't lose their precious cyberspace hoard.
Just to add to what Max was saying and to add to what Phil was saying is essentially, I think that this comes from, shitcoin devs. We are, and Phil slayed this and already confirmed that the majority of these shitcoin devs get funding from the Valley, right? Silicon Valley specifically. And, one of their main components is move fast, break things. And then in the Bitcoin world, and I think this goes to, why wasn't that a lot of people lost their money in Lightning, just messing around. But I think that the base layer wasn't broken. I think that goes exactly to what you were saying. I think that in Bitcoin, the main goal is as a store of value. You want this as a store of value. You kind of want this as a rainy day fund. And if you put that as the main priority, especially when you're developing, you make sure that people don't lose their money just like that, But anyways, Phil, there was another fail. Why don't we check it out?
Let's go take a look. So now we're gonna switch gears from okay, you know what? Hold on. Before we go to the other fail, I just want to show. I don't know if you guys remember, but we cited an article, right, about how El Salvador was using Algorand, the shitcoin that we just talked about in the like 2 minutes ago, and for some reason CoinDesk's page is just gone. Just kind of pointing that out, right? Because that article, which is great, because it's in our previous video. Okay, it's in the video that we did a couple of days ago, and we actually showed right there the language explaining that Algorand is being used for official documents. Okay. Nothing to do with money, right? It's not money. Anyways, I thought it was funny
that was deleted as well, so it looks like they're not using that either.
Yep. But you see, if only CoinDesk would publish their articles on the Algorand blockchain too, then they could have never deleted it.
It would have been kept forever. Good. That's right, Max. So we're moving on to some other shitcoinery. Here we go. We were tagged by at Ace Ragnar, Ghost of Ragnar, and this is a Slashdot article. Here we go. OpenSea freezes 2.2 million of stolen Bored Apes. That's right. We were talking about decentralization, right, in our previous article. Well, here we go. Here's a little more decentralization for everyone. An NFT collector today declared that his collection of Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs worth 1.9 million was quote-unquote hacked, and then said NFT marketplace OpenSea, which in brackets is partially funded by the Cubes, had frozen the assets for him, right? The Cubes, Mark Cuban. NFTs are cryptographically unique digital tokens that prove ownership of physical or digital content such as art, GIFs, or musical files. Now, if that isn't some bullshit, I don't know what is. I want you to think of what I just read to you and how we've proven time and time again how this unique hash that you're buying in no way conveys ownership over the image that you think you own. Some of the people arguing that appealing to a third party to freeze NFTs flew in the face of crypto's claims to be decentralized. All right, guys, so look. This is the point that we've been making over and over again. The shitcoins keep talking about decentralization. But yet we keep showing you one example after another of a central entity being able to change the rules, being able to, quote unquote, halt the trading, being able to, in this case, freeze people's assets on a platform. Okay? Like, we've seen how much have we seen OpenSea shield? All of the, like, it's the most insane thing, right? Like, they've taken in hundreds of millions of dollars. And this thing, all it is a centralized website. That's all it is. And they're just selling you a narrative that's completely untrue. And there's one wrecked person after another. And we're just showing them to you. So I just, look, this was just this was kind of like an icing on the cake, right? Like they sit there and tout that they are a decentralized marketplace. And yet they froze the assets when asked. What?
Dude, and it's funny because all the shitcoiners, and we've covered this multiple times, but a couple, they got their stuff hacked or stolen, and they always have a Freudian slip, just like this website. They always run to the state to try to fix it. There was one shitcoiner, there was this .eth guy that was essentially calling to the IRS. He's like, if you spend any of the money, I'm going to tell the IRS on you. Bitcoiners would never do that because Bitcoiners understand, right, that, dude, the state is the problem, right? And Bitcoin essentially solves that because it separates money from state, but only because it's truly decentralized and there's rules without rulers. Anyways, Max, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, NFTs are weird, right? Because like either it's financial speculation, which includes a lot of false promises and just all right fraud, or then alternatively it's a centralized use case, like receipts or tickets or entries or gift cards or whatnot. If you have a centralized system and you want something that's fast and scalable and private, go back to 1983. Xiaomi and eCash solves the problem. Just issue a signature. And that's enough. And it works. It's secure. If you want to have something that's publicly verifiable by the user, for whatever reason you would want that, I would actually not really know. Maybe then some equity certificates or whatnot. Well, then sure, okay, use either something like RGB if you want to get fancy, or fall back to some blockchain solution which doesn't need its own token. It can just be done in a side chain, like Liquid or others. But yeah, I mean, the actual serious market for NFT is like tiny. It's like it's a minor accounting convenience and a marketing gimmick at most for a lot of things. Not saying that it's bad. I mean, it's cool tech, sure. But solving money is infinitely on so many orders of magnitude more important than this kindergarten. So yeah, who cares?
I think to Max's point, right? It's that what we keep showing and what we keep seeing again and again is that they keep, to your point, they keep marketing themselves as a store of value, as, hey, you're going to be able to sell these things. And this is what we've said before, right? Like you said about the tech being cool. There's nothing wrong with the tech. And, if you want to be a collector of these things, by all means, collect them because you love them, because you think they're interesting. But make no mistake, you're not going to get somebody else to pay necessarily what you paid for this. It's not a store of value in any way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, as we've shown, that unique hash does not convey or provide any kind of security over the image that is being quote unquote attached to it. So, again, I think it's the word I'm looking for is it's the false narrative, right?
Oh, absolutely. I muted myself by accident. Yes, it is the false narrative. This is BS. This is a scam. Get yourself some Bitcoin so you don't get rug pulled. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by toxic Bitcoiners. And they're scarce. There's only 1,000 copies made per volume. Anyways, get your print of Citadel 21 today. The first meme is brought to us by Zach Voel. This is the famous "Are you winning, son?" And then this is all us on Twitter. They even has the Twitter thing in the Discord. I'm harassing financial regulators and celebrity economists on Twitter. That's all Bitcoin Twitter, to be honest. All right, moving on to the next meme. This is by Rothmus. When government does it, enhanced interrogation. When anybody else does it, torture. No-knock raids, breaking and entering, taxation, armed robbery, arrest, kidnapping, indefinite detention, holding hostages, education, indoctrination, making a campaign promise, lying, campaign contribution, bribery, defense operation, aggression, military occupation, land theft, security pat-down, sexual assault, national security, spying on neighbors, peacekeeping mission, invasion, war, mass murder.
This is amazing.
That's pretty spot on.
It's so good. All right, moving on to the next one is by Lena Sheesh. Everybody bought the top at some point. 2021, 69K. Exchange. I heard you bought the top. Sucks for you. 2022, he bought under 100K. He's so lucky. Amazing. By the legendary Lena Sheesh. And this is, I'm going to give Phil credit because Phil is the shitcoin slayer. He uncovered this. Okay? And it went viral on Twitter. Vitalik.eth. Vitalik.World Economic Forum. And the reason for that is we know for a fact Phil brought the receipts that one of the members of the board or the chair of the Ethereum Foundation is on the World Economic Forum. We're not kidding, right?
Nope.
You could now, you know what? I'll pop it up so you guys can see it. But anyways, Phil, for those awesome memes, I'm going to give it a very special pin that was given to me by BTC Pins, and is the BTC Pins pin. Anyways, what would you give those memes, Phil?
Is that a meme of a pin of a pin?
Yeah.
Like, that may be what just happened? Okay. Anyways, great memes. I love the government one. Shout out to whoever put that together. I mean, that is great. I didn't catch their name, but anyways, I am going with, and I think that this is fitting, right? Because we're trying to clean things up. Going with the screen spray.
Wow.
That's right. Got to keep that screen clean.
Screen clean. Anyways, Max, what would you give those memes?
So after you're all dressed fancy with your pin and you got clear vision to cyberspace with a solid, clean screen, say sit back, relax, and drink some oolong tea.
Oh, nice.
Oolong tea. Wow.
This guy's getting mindful. He's getting mindful and philosophical. I like that.
Boom. Drop mic by Max moment.
Yep.
Anyways, guys, we want to know, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comments. And of course, you guys know the drill. We make fun of central bankers. So we definitely piss off people in high places. So make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms like rumble.com and our personal favorite, bitcointv.com. They don't censor there because it's Bitcoin TV. And of course, join our Telegram group in the link description and link us some Bitcoin memes to review so we could review them on the meme review because it's a Bitcoin meme review and that's what we do. We review memes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the daily news. The daily news is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Bitcoin grenade art and unscrews. You put your open dime in there, really cool stuff. Or the 3D printed Bitcoin honey badger. Anyways, there's a bunch of other stuff on the store and you can take advantage of the 5% thing link down below, CryptoCloaks.com. All right, guys, so we've been talking about the game theory and the incentives of Bitcoin, how they're irresistible. This is the Orange Man himself, right? I think it's a very dangerous thing. Trump trashes cryptocurrencies and says he favors a strong US dollar, right? And he's been saying this multiple times, but I don't know if this is them kind of conspiring and Trump is secretly a Bitcoin fan. I have no idea, but his wife, literally yesterday, it's widely reported on Bitcoin's birthday. It's widely reported that Bitcoin's market cap exceeds US dollar 1 trillion. Today marks the 13th anniversary of the Bitcoin Genesis block. Happy anniversary, Melania Trump. So while her husband, the ex-president of the United States, is bashing Bitcoin, he's not a fan, his wife,
She's hodling.
is openly wishing Bitcoin a happy birthday on the Twitter. That is absolutely crazy. And I think that really highlights the game theory of Bitcoin and the incentives of Bitcoin, and they're irresistible. Now, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat moment for a second, okay? I don't know, maybe you could read into this thinking, this is kind of Trump doesn't want to rub the deep state, but he's secretly a fan of Bitcoin. We know that most of the big state Republicans, governors, they support the Bitcoin industry like crazy, right? So I don't know. I have no idea, right? But at the same time, the fact that her husband is like, Bitcoin's a scam, and then his wife is like, happy birthday Bitcoin, and I think she's openly selling a shitcoin NFT. But anyways, that's besides the point. The point here is the incentives of Bitcoin are absolutely crazy. The game theory is absolutely crazy. And not only are you seeing it in people, but you're also seeing it in nation states as well, right? So much to unpack there. And I know a lot of people were just skimming over it and saying, oh, this is so funny. Look into it. Like, there's so much signal there, right? Potentially Trump becomes a candidate in 2020. I'm pretty sure he will, right? And if Biden keeps fucking things up the way he has been, I think he has a pretty good shot at winning. And again, we're apolitical on the show. We don't lean left or right. We stand for whoever is for Bitcoin. But the fact that his wife is like wishing Bitcoin a happy birthday is while he's trashing it, like, I think there's something there. Anyways, what do you Phil? Do you think I'm crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy, but I'm going to take a little bit of a different take on this. I'm going to say that she figured out how to hodl against her husband. And she's like, you know what? She's like, this guy can go and be a complete idiot and do whatever he wants. And again, I'm not talking about him as a president. I'm just saying him as a person, right? But she just figured out that it's like, hey, I can just stack Bitcoin and it's all mine. Like, think about that, right? Not tied to a bank account. I mean, look, for anybody who's ever opened up a bank account here with a wife, you know, like, or, you know, husband and wife, whatever it is, you know that the banking system is weirdly sexist. It's strange. Like, all of a sudden, your wife, for some reason, let's say your wife opens up a bank account and she's a primary and decides to add you to the bank account. If you're a guy, for whatever reason, they make you the primary, even though it's her bank account. So there's all kinds of this weird behavior that we see in the banking system. So, and again, I do think that even the elites suffer from this to a certain extent. So I think that she just figured out how to actually hodl in secret against him. Not saying in secret that, like, because obviously she's saying happy birthday to Bitcoin, but I'm saying in secret in the sense that, like, yeah, she's got a hodl stack. So
Absolutely, man. Melania Trump is secretly a Bitcoiner trying to stack more Bitcoin by selling those shit coins. In her case, a Melania NFT. Anyways, Max.
which is garbage. Which is garbage.
It's
Sorry.
just garbage. But, Max, do you see what we see in terms of the game theory? Are we reading too much into it? What are your thoughts on all this?
Oh, you know, with Trump having all these golden, things around his houses and skyscrapers, I'm just waiting for him to have like some open dime artwork, you know, out in front of his buildings with, you know, QR codes and all this, you know, 100 Bitcoin in that UTXO, and you just marvel at it. You know, that if, you know, probably his ego is big enough to do some crazy things like that. So I'm definitely looking forward.
I like that take, man.
Dude,
I mean, whoever heard of Open Dime as a statue in front? But to Max's point, why not?
I'm going to have fun putting that in the edit tomorrow. That's
Yeah.
for sure. But anyways, moving on to this. Guys, you know the drill. We've been talking about this. The end goal is to separate money from state, or humanity will never be free. And let me kind of highlight, you know, the case of what happens with all fiat currencies inevitably. Let's talk about the situation in Turkey, which I told you guys yesterday I was going to talk about. Anyways, Turkey's inflation rate nears 20-year high as lira crisis continues. Turkey's inflation climbed to a nearly 2-decade high in December on the back of a weakening lira that is driving up the cost of food, other basic goods, and destabilizing the wider economy. Annual inflation rose to 36% last month, up from 21% in November. The Turkey Statistical Institute said Monday, the highest inflation rate since 2002. The rampant inflation raises new concerns that it could overwhelm a government rescue plan unveiled last month to stabilize the battered local currency. I have an idea. If you want to rescue it, just stop printing money, but they can't. Anyways, the lira was down less than 1% against the dollar on Monday. Anyways, article goes on to say, and I think this is the most impactful part, right? We can't buy meat, fish, chicken, or cheese anymore, said Kamal, a 49-year-old security guard. We mostly eat bread with tea now. And again, this happened in Venezuela as well, right? This is what happens with inflation. Things become too overpriced. Now, here's the thing, and this is the problem that governments have, is that if you're saving in this fiat currency, you're getting crushed. But if you're saving in Bitcoin, you are not only succeeding, you are thriving. This is not a shitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fiat currency, same thing. 99.48% in the last 5 years. I'm going to read it again. 99.48% in the last 5 years if you compare it to Bitcoin. And what is the government's reaction to this? Remember, the government would rather keep power than not having their citizens stay poor. So they'd rather have their citizens stay poor than lose that power. If you don't believe me, this is an article that we covered when it came out. Erdogan, which is the president of Turkey, war against Bitcoin. Recep Erdogan, the firebrand Turkish president, has declared war on Bitcoin. Why is he declaring a war on Bitcoin? because he wants people staying in the fiat currency. Don't believe me? Check this out. Turkey, Erdogan tells savers to switch back to lira. Even though it's losing this much value, governments would rather keep on to the power. Absolutely insane. Anyways, going back to this article. While the central bank, in the aftermath of a sweeping ban on use of cryptocurrency, did that ban work? No, it just pushed it underground. And when it pushed it underground, unfortunately, right, they lost that tax revenue. So what did Erdogan decide? Because he's pushing the industry underground, tries to regulate it, right? So he went from declaring war on Bitcoin, right, to, okay, fine, we can't ban this, so we should regulate it. Turkey President Erdogan to send crypto law to Parliament report. The law is ready. We will send it to the Parliament soon without delay. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have grown increasingly popular in Turkey, where inflation has soared and the country's currency, the lira, hit record lows against the dollar. Why is it grown in popularity? It's not the reason that we buy Bitcoin in the West. It's because people are buying Bitcoin as a necessity because they need a store of value. But the growing acceptance has challenged authoritarian Erdogan, who has been looking to strengthen the lira and bolster Turkey's struggling economy. In April, Turkey's central bank said it was banning the use of cryptocurrency payments, although it remains legal to hold crypto in the country. Right at the time, Turkey's central bank governor, I can't pronounce that, said that the country's treasury and finance ministry was developing cryptocurrency regulations, but didn't intend to prohibit them. And again, why aren't they prohibiting it? Why are they trying to pass regulation versus outright banning it? Because they know they can't ban it completely. So, and especially they can't ban it completely because countries that ban Bitcoin need Bitcoin the most. Only reason a country would ban Bitcoin is because their fiat currency is struggling. But this is a peak. What Erdogan, the government of Turkey, which is what all governments would do, to be frank, is a peak at the totalitarianism of those governments, of any government, and the fact that, dude, they would rather you be poor AF than lose power. And fiat currency is what gives the state power, which goes back to what I was saying initially. This is why we must separate money from state, or humanity will never be free. Erdogan, the way that he was saying it, he was urging Turks to go back into lira. So it's like he doesn't mind having his citizens going into a currency that is losing value. And if you compare it to Bitcoin, lost 99.5% of its value, if it means that the lira gets more time, because it's still going to zero anyways. This is the craziness, right? And if you think this is only happening in Turkey, this already happened in the U.S. In 1933, the 6102 order, FDR confiscated gold, sound money, right? A sound store of asset, because the U.S. was going through a Great Depression. And what did they do? He confiscated it, and then he artificially rose the price, and then he sold it for 2 times more. And you didn't have a choice as an American to own gold legally for a period of years. I think it was until 1976 that it was illegal, right? So just because we're in the States, or just because you're in the UK, just because you're in Europe, don't kid yourself. If your country gets in a problem with their fiat currency, the first thing that they're going to do, they're going to try to bail themselves out like they always do. And this is why it's so important to self-custody your Bitcoin. And this is why it's so dangerous. We talked about this yesterday, that El Salvador is using a U.S. custodian and not custodying Bitcoin themselves. Phil?
Yeah, that's, this really does bring up the question of incentives, okay? Because you've got a government that is, and you hit the nail on the head, you've got a government telling people to put their money, essentially put their value back into a failing government-issued currency. And they're not looking out for their people. And so this is really scary stuff, right? Because if we extrapolate this out, okay, so, we all like to believe, the government is looking out for its people, okay? Like, this is the imaginary thing that we create, right? That like, they're the big mommy daddy, and they're looking out for this, for the country. So, but they're lying to you right now. They're telling you to do something that is actually bad for you, for your children, and for anyone that you love and care about, and for anyone that they love and care about for that matter. So think about that psychotic shit, okay? And you're supposed to sit there and listen to this? I mean, this is really scary stuff, and it goes back to incentives. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they can't actually tell you the truth. Really, what they should tell you is, listen, okay, you're going to need to buy Bitcoin because the money that we use is terrible, okay? And we don't know how to fix it. But you can't say that. Instead, what you do is you lie, okay? And also the other thing is, okay, I'll finish this point. They lie about it, okay? And it doesn't actually get any better. Now, the other point I wanted to make was this whole business about bringing people's savings back into the lira. That's not going to bring the price of the lira up. That doesn't help in any way, shape, or form. They're going to just continue to print what they were printing before. All it is an illusion, okay? Because if they were actually, let's say the government was able to get people to do this, the next day's headline is going to say, renewed faith in Turkey's lira. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to say, which is totally not true. It's not renewed faith in anything. It's people just trying not to, it's people just, in that case, following like sheep.
To the slaughter.
You know?
To the slaughter.
To the slaughter.
Absolutely. You read it or I read it for you guys, right? The guy wasn't able to afford chicken, fish, all that stuff because he's trusting the state's currency. In the United States, we saw it today. I mean, we saw it last year. Food prices went up, especially the price of steak went up like 40%, right? But guess what? If you had your money in Bitcoin, that steak, that fish, that chicken would get a lot cheaper over time. Specifically, in Turkey's case, it would get 99.5% cheaper in 5 years. Anyways,
but
Max,
I mean, let's not kid ourselves, right? This is not just a problem somewhere in this weird country over there like Turkey. Here, this is the base money supply for all fiat currencies, and it goes absolutely parabolic since 2020. And this does very much reflect on all currencies, right? You see here on price in Bitcoin21.com. Sure, the Turkish lira lost 96.72% in 3 years. But the US dollar lost 91.71%. It's not that we're doing any better there, right? The euro crashing equally at 91%. Like, this is crazy. So all other currencies are just crashing at a monumental rate compared to Bitcoin. But and that's in part, of course, because fiat currencies are getting worthless. See the hyperinflation going on. But the beautiful thing in Bitcoin is that Bitcoin's value in per se, in the sense of the consumer goods that you can buy with it, steadily increases too, or in other words, prices keep going down. A median new house is all of a sudden 90% cheaper over the last 3 years, right? Or an average new car is 30% cheaper just throughout the last year. Whereas in the fiat world, all consumer prices are going to skyrocket like crazy, right? We're going to see that living on the Bitcoin standard is going to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, right? We're going to spend less and less and less sats on the consumption goods that you need, right? Well, simultaneously, the stock market is fucking crashing like crazy. There's not a single company that is profitable denominated in Bitcoin over the last year. Right, that's insane. Like, the Dow Jones is down 25%, the S&P 500 is down 20%. Like, massive economic crisis, right? And that just shows you again: don't invest your Bitcoin in weird projects, in weird equity or debt investments, right? Because no investment is solid. Every investment is crashing right now. Hold your wealth in savings without any counterparty risk, right? In money as a medium of exchange, and that's certainly a much more sound strategy.
Dude,
that is an awesome link.
I love Bitcoiners, man. I love Bitcoiners. This is what it's all about. This is what Bitcoin's all about: building on top of each other's work. I was focusing on Turkey. Max in the background was zooming into the macro. Absolutely beautiful. And dude, even in the US, in the Turkey it's 94.55%. The US is still 91%. Right? So this is why you should save in Bitcoin. This is why you should go to a Bitcoin standard, start denominating your wealth in Bitcoin. And like we've been saying for a very long time, things will get cheaper over time, especially if they print more money. that inflation is actually a good thing for you as an individual. I'm not going to say it's a good thing for everybody. Causes a lot of pain, causes a lot of hurt, especially to the lower class and the middle class, right, that don't have the wealth to save in equities and real estate. So they have to save in cash, and that cash essentially gets stolen from them every time the government hits that money printer. And as you could see with Erdogan's response and history in the United States, they don't give a shit. They would just, it's all about power for them. They don't care if you're poor. It's just, do they have that power? Or do they not have that power?
Hey, they're eating.
They're eating. They don't care. They get paid. All the lockdowns, all those politicians kept getting paid. Us peasants, you're not allowed to work if you don't do this. By the way, did you know that Congress, they were all exempt from getting the jab? But us peasants.
Exempt?
Yep.
But it's for our safety.
But us peasants, right? If you don't get the jab, right? And again, guys, do whatever you feel is best for your health. Yep. If you want to get the jab, that's all you. We don't care if you don't want to get it. You have the freedom, you have the right to choose whether you want to get it or not. The point is that they don't play by the same rules that we're expected to play by. And this is a scam, but don't worry, Bitcoin fixes this. Anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Want to tell everybody about it.
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. Store your seed in the Cypher wheel. That's right. Tamper-proof, pet-proof. I saw in the comments today of the live show, yes, it is rust-proof and fill-proof and Nico-proof. The link is down below. All right, we've got Ride the Lightning, or RTL, version 0.12.0. That is a web UI for managing your Lightning channels. Anyways, that link is down below. Guys, don't forget, Monday through Saturday, we post rain or shine unless we tell you differently. Don't forget to check us out. Audio only. You could find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. And I can't remember the others. I'm always trying. Anyways.
Are you on Podcasting 2.0? Can I boost? Come on. I gotta be able to boost.
You know what? We are on Fountain. Thank you for reminding me. We are on Fountain. Fountain.fm as well.
Awesome. We are podcasting 2.0. Definitely.
We are podcasting 2.0.
And stream us some sats, guys. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's cool.
No, you have to. You have to.
We appreciate that, Max. That we appreciate.
Thank you, bro. Anyways, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to legendary Max Hillbrand. You can give him a follow at HillbrandMax on Twitter. He has contributed to BTC Pay Server, Nodl, Wasabi, Cold Card, and Bisq. Huge Bitcoin projects, so you definitely want to give him a follow. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the people at perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is the cyberspace magical money.